Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing Forza Horizon 3 on the AMD Radeon RX 470 4GB for FPS monitoring. I'll be using DX Story since CAM's overlay doesn't work with Universal Windows applications, so I'll be using CAM for CPU, GPU and RAM usage monitoring at the bottom right corner of the video. You'll also see the task manager at the top right corner in order to see other things running in the background, so you can have more of an idea of what's going on. And I'll be using both an i3-6100 1480p and an i7-4790 1480p plus other resolutions. One other thing to keep in mind is that even playing at window mode doesn't mean that I'm using a lower resolution. I'm actually using the same resolution no matter the size of the window. So first I'll be doing 1080p with the i3-6100 with my tweak settings. Then I'll be lowering the resolution to 1024 by 768 just to show you that the problem here is not the GPU, it's the CPU. So the CPU is the bottleneck in the system. The first things I suggest lowering are shadow quality, dynamic geometry quality, windshield reflection quality, mirror quality, and world car level of detail. Those are the settings that help you most with the performance. You'll need to restart the game after changing dynamic geometry detail, but the world car level of detail, keep it on medium or low if you have a low-end CPU, and you can be very close to 60 frames per second, but you'll get some drops to 45. I'm in the most demanding part I found so far. When you're in this city, the frame rate goes up and down and it's very inconsistent. That's why I tested this part. When you are in other parts of the map that are more open and there are less cars on screen, the performance is better. Then when I switched to the i7-4790, I used pretty much the same settings as the previous part, and the game was over 60 frames per second, but there were some drops below 60, so even with an i7-4790 I didn't get constant 60 frames per second all the time, even by lowering the resolution to 720p, which you'll see in the video. Then I switched to 1440p and it was possible to hit 60 frames per second by lowering shadows to medium in comparison to the other settings that I use at 1080p, but it was between 50 and 60 for the most part. So the biggest drop at 1440p was to 50, and then at 4K it was impossible to hit 60 frames per second. In that case the GPU was the bottleneck, so I used pretty much high settings and it ran over 30 frames per second at 4K no problem. So to sum up, if you have an i3-6100 or a G4560 to have as an example, you are able to get close to 60 frames per second, but you won't maintain 60s constantly due to the CPU, even by lowering the resolution. So you can use the settings that I showed you at the beginning of the video, or just crank it up to ultra and cap it at 30 frames per second and you'll be fine. Then if you have a strong i5 or an i7, you can get close to 60 frames per second and maintain it way more consistently than the i3 by using the settings that I show you at the 1080p i7 footage. But again, even if you lower the resolution, it doesn't stay at 60 frames per second all the time, but you're very close. And then if you want to play at 1440p or 4K, you can do so with the i3 or the i7, it doesn't matter. With the i7 you can get 50 to 60 frames at 1440p, and with the i3 you can play at over 30 just fine. Same thing goes to 4K. If you play at 4K, it will be over 30 both on the i3 and the i7. The CPU will be a choice that you have to make depending on what frame rate you want. If you want 60s, get an i7 or an i5, and if you want between 40 and 60, just get an i3. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you keep enjoying the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.